The story starts by introducing Elliot and what seems to be his diurnal routine, talking to courses and promising to make them look like someone alive, and also he takes a picture of them. But this is actually the story of Anna, whom we meet seconds laterally by a slightly awkward situation with her swing Paul, since while they are having coitus she does not feel to enjoy it, and this leads to conflict between them. Also, Paul approaches while Anna is taking a shower and tries to fix everything, and she tells him that she is happy, although again her expression says the contrary, and he says farewell through the glass, saying that he loves her also. Anna arrives at the academy where she workshops and enters one of the classrooms, just as two big kitties are bullying her little pupil Jax, so she defends him. Also, he thanks her and points to one of the sprats of the class, telling her that it's dead, but Anne picks it up, sees that it's alive, and tells him that the little beast is just spooked. Latterly, Anna is leaving the academy and the lights in the hallway start to fail. They go out one by one as she walks, so spooked she tries to get out of there, but the door is locked. Out of nowhere, Jack appears and turns on the lights, also asks her school teacher if she was spooked of what was passing, and also opens the door without any problem. There Anna says farewell to her pupil, because she has to go to the burial of her old piano school teacher. And when she gets into the auto, she realizes that her bottle of capsules is empty, so she goes to the drugstore. On the way out, she happens to find a hairstylist shop and goes in to get a new look. Arriving at the burial, we see the widow surprised that Elliot used her hubby's favorite flowers without knowing it, to which he replies that he only saw them applicable for the occasion. At that moment, Anna approaches her professor's body and thinks she has seen the cadaver move its mouth as if it were breathing. And when she looks again, she realizes it must have been her imagination. Latterly, when she's about to leave, Elliot sees her from the window crying and desperately looking for commodity. But for now, we do not know what it's. That night, Paul waits for Anne at a nice eatery, and the evening turns awkward when he tells her that her new look isn't relatively her style. But the really important thing then is that Paul announces to her that he has to move to Chicago for work. And when he is about to propose, Anna thresholds, arguing as she thinks he's going to break up with her. And indeed, though he tries to stop her, she runs off and drives down in the rain, when suddenly a white van drives veritably near to her. But Anna does not feel to pay important attention to this, so she continues driving and picks up her cell phone. But when she starts to telephone a number, we see in the background how an auto overtakes her, and everything goes black. After this, we see Anna in a mortuary with a pale face and a crack on her forepaw. Elliot takes her things, and before undressing her, she opens her eyes and asks where she's, but with a surprising calmness, Elliot answers that she's in the morgue since she's dead. That's when we learn that Anna collided with the truck loaded with essence pipes, causing her death 8 hours ago. And he tells her that her body no longer circulates blood, so it's in the process of corruption. At that moment, Anna looks like she doesn't understand anything as we do. And to move her, Elliot shows her a death instrument, but this does not work. And what we see is that Anna cannot move, but she can talk and contend that it's a mistake until Elliot gets worried and leaves. Meanwhile, Paul wakes up at her house and starts calling her to fix everything but his gals. Things are in the possession of Elliot, who upon seeing the missed calls decides to put the cell phone in a paper bag and put it in a closet where there are other bags just like it. Also, Paul decides to go to his mama-in-law's house with a bouquet of flowers, and there he learns that Anna failed in an accident, but also her mama blames him for everything. And meanwhile, Elliot addresses to the print of a cadaver as if it were alive. Also, he meets Anna, and while suturing her injuries, she asks him to please not hurt her, but he ignores that and also injects her with commodity he says will soothe her muscles. Also, Anna's mama arrives to see her son's body and asks Ellie to return her to the brown hair that was her natural color. Also, Anna is alone, but she regains some strength, and the first thing she does is to try to feel her palpitation without success, so she also tries to hit her body but feels no pain and tries to call with an old phone, but it does not work. At that moment, Paul arrives at the mortuary, and although he looks sad and hopeless, Elliot does not let him see the cadaver because he has no legal ties to her. Anna realizes this while standing behind the door and starts screaming, but she can't give her Swain to hear to her either. Also, Paul goes in despair to the police station looking for his friend Tom, but he is not there, and while he's staying for him, he manages to see where Anna's auto is and decides to get into it. But at that moment, he begins to have fancies of her until Tom's hand makes him reply. Also, Anna goes through the room where he's and takes a brace of scissors, so hiding them in her reverse, she delays for Elliot and tries to attack him to escape, but she does not succeed because the doors are closed, and although she threatens to kill him, she is unfit to do it. And that's when he confesses to her that he has a gift that allows him to talk to the dead. After Anna wakes up and in front of her she sees the old woman who looks directly at her, and with a dark voice says, "You're not ready." That's actually a vision that makes her fear and destroy the whole room. But Ellie does not realize at the time, as he's at the old woman's burial, having a warm burial discussion with Jack the coming day, Paul begins to hear whispers of Anna in his house, and also imagines seeing her, but it's all a dream at the same time. Ellie returns with Anna, and upon entering hangs a dress and his own jacket on a rack. He shows her the dress, telling her that it's the one for her burial, and while he is busy she takes the occasion to subtly take out the keys hidden in his fund. Also Elliot leaves in his white van and goes to the gas station while Anna tries to open the door with the keys she stole from him. And although she has some difficulty, she manages to get out of the room. But when Elliot goes to pay at the gas station, he realizes he forgot his keys and rushes back there. We see Anna walk through the house to the frontal door, and when she opens it she sees that Elliot has returned, so she runs out. She finds a phone and calls Paul for help, but the call is heard with hindrance. And that's when Elliot grabs her. He also shows her a glass, and she, seeing his cadaver-like appearance, manages to move herself that she's dead. But two important effects also be that she did not notice. The first is that Jack is standing in front of the house watching her through the window, and Elliot notices this by chance. And the ultimate is that Anna sighs in front of the glass, causing her breath to fog it, a commodity that a dead person presumably can't do, or yes, we do not know. But in that instant Elliot snappily wipes it with a handkerchief without her noticing. So convinced of her death, Anna stops defying Elliot's medication of her body and does not give any significance to what he injects her with. Another day goes by, and we see Paul at Academy picking up his gal's effects. When he's about to leave, Jack greets him and tells him that he saw his school teacher the night before wearing a red dress at the mortuary. That Paul becomes exalted and asks him to stop the jokes, but the boy insists, telling him that perhaps he doesn't love her enough. Timber Paul, angry, and ends up hitting the boy in front of everyone. Meanwhile, Bobby arrives at the mortuary to see his family's body, which is coming to Anna's, and asks to be alone with him. But he seems to be a psycho, because he actually approaches Anna's naked body with intentions of touching her, and just ahead doing so he is surprised by Elliot. After this, Elliot finds Jack talking to a cadaver in the morgue and asks him if he is suitable to see Anna the night before. The boy nods, and Elliot tells him that they both partake the same gift that Jesus Christ had, and promises to educate him everything. Meanwhile, Paul remembers that the last morning together Anna had a red dress just as Jack had told him, so he begins to suspect that his gal is alive. So he rushes to the mortuary and tells his proposition to Elliot, demanding to see her, but Elliot refuses and Paul breaks in. But also Elliot threatens him with calling the police and gets him to leave. But he does not give up slowly, because he goes to his friend's Tom. He tells him that they only took Anna's paws before declaring her dead, and that they could have cured her. Tom doesn't believe him, but it seems that another Bobby does, and starts talking about a substance called hydronium platitude that can beget palsy in a matter of seconds. That is when Paul also tells them that he thinks she called him on the phone, but of course they do not take him seriously. Collect or long distance off. Also, Tom convinces his friend that what he's saying does not make important sense. Latterly, Elliot continues to prepare Anna for her burial, and they have a deep discussion where she confesses that she has no way been happy, and says that as a child her mama tutored her that loving equaled suffering, so she pledged no way to do so until she met Paul, and now regrets not telling him that she was in love. This is why Ellie opens the door and invites her to leave if she really wants to live, and Anna walks out to her house, where she finds her mama, Paul, and some old women around her who make a prayer and an alias to an exorcism, while some roots catch her and she spits insects out of her mouth. Also, Anna comes back to reality and finds herself standing at the door of the room, not daring to leave. That is when Elliot tells her that he allowed she was different, since everyone claims to be hysterical of death, but they're really hysterical of life. And also Anna agrees to be happy with the fact that she failed. Also, Elliot prepares the hole for her burial, and Jack surprises him by asking to educate him, as he promised before. Elliot tells him that the total isn't because his school teacher is dead, but because there's no further life in her, and begins a speech of disdain to them, saying that they are breathless corpses that only urinate and defecate, and that their egoism takes down space from the living, so it's his duty to bury them the day the burial arrives. And Elliot injects Anna with commodity that will relax her muscles, and her skin looks as if it were alive. And we realize that this liquid is nothing further and nothing lower than hydronium platitude, just what the body had told Paul. That Anna asks him as the last one to see her face, but when she has the glass closed, she realizes that her breath fogs the glass. And it seems that our reservations are verified, since that isn't commodity. The nothingness can do Well, yes, we really don't know. Also, B tells her that it's all a figment of her imagination. And although she tries to fight back, she's no longer strong because of the medicines. He simply accommodates her and takes a picture. The burial begins, and Anna's mama is surprised to see her with her favorite flowers. And also Elliot tells her that for some reason he allowed they were applicable. Paul arrives next to Tom and approaches Anna's body to place the engagement ring on her cutlet, and just her lips and eyelids move a little. So Elliot nervously decides to close the Paul. When leaving the burial, Paul apologizes to Jack, and the boy reminds him that he did not say he saw her alive, but only that he saw her. Meanwhile, Elliot again speaks to a print, but this time it's of Anna's cadaver, and places it, coming to a collection of hundreds of identical prints on the wall. Also, when she's being buried, Anna wakes up inside the Paul and begins to scream for help. While in the event, Paul begins to claim to Elliot to have buried her alive, to which he replies that perhaps he's right, and that he can check it in the cemetery. This causes Paul's fury, but Elliot stops him by telling him that there is little time left. In the middle of this, we see Jack bury the juvenile, which we had seen dead from the morning. Although it was actually alive by this time, Anna is running out of oxygen, while Paul is driving at full speed in the middle of numerous vehicles and in the rain. Suddenly a light shines brightly on him, and when he opens his eyes again, the road is clear, and also an ambulance overtakes him. But this ambulance continues down a road where Elliot's truck is situated, now accompanied by Jack, and they talk about how it's each over. Paul arrives at the cemetery and snappily digs up Anna's Paul and carries her out. She catches her breath and says she loves him, but suddenly Paul hears a noise, and Anna's voice tells him it's the sound of scissors cutting his clothes. Also, Paul wakes up on a stretcher, unfit to move. It turns out that he is at the mortuary, and Elliot tells him that he failed in an auto accident and that he could not make it to the cemetery to see if Anna was alive or not. We also see Jack helping out as Elliot puts a huge essence shaft into Paul's body, making him scream in pain until he passes out. And although visually everything goes dark, we can hear him say that he is not dead. That was Afterlife. Don't forget to note what movie you would like me to recap, like, subscribe, and turn on announcements so you don't miss the coming videotape.